The NBA Players Association approved the league's 22-team format to complete the season, so it's on. Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that the NBA and the players will work through more details this week, but are moving toward the July 31st tip at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando. So I want to bring Jay Williams into the conversation. Been too long, Jay. Well, what's up, my man? We would look at it's here.
How you doing, brother?
We have a lot of stuff to get to this morning, but let's start with this. What are the most important things that fans should be thinking about with regard to the players coming back to play under these unprecedented circumstances?
Well, Greeny, first and foremost, I heard Matt Barnes talk about this last evening, and I also heard some players, conversate about this. This is going to be a bigger conversation around a lot of the racial injustices that are currently happening in the current climate of our country. I think it's making a lot of guys, secondly, think about, do we want to come back and play? And I know this is going to be very difficult for fans to hear. But I think a lot of guys, when you think about the majority of the NBA is African American, are thinking about what kind of stances can we take. You obviously see the president of the United States that's engaging himself in a lot of sports arenas, and I think you're going to have players wanting to speak out and wanting to speak back. I know that fans hate to see when sports and politics connect. But it feels like the world inevitably, with October around the loom, really coming into its own. And it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. And I know that's not, players and weight and conditioning and coaches being a little bit older and we still have a pandemic. But I think the racial injustices are really making guys, think differently about this whole thing, Greeny. It's getting interesting.
I totally get it. And so since you brought us there, let's just stay there for a moment. I did see that from Matt, and we've talked about the staff. We've talked about trying to get some more information about that to sort of engage in a bigger conversation about it, because it does seem as though the gestures that have been made, particularly in the NFL, are most amplified by being done in and around games themselves, when people are paying the most attention. Now, we are in unique times. People are paying extraordinary amounts of attention right now. That has not always been the case. So what do you know about players saying, because of the circumstances, they feel less inclined to play?
I think you have a split here. I think you have some players that are, participating in protests, that are understanding that right now, due to the platform that they have, due to all the eyeballs that will be on them, they have one of the biggest platforms there is in the world to speak out on these issues. And they're recognizing that power. Now, I'm not saying that's ultimately going to lead to them playing or them not playing. I do not know. But I think how they decide to use their voice is very important. And the one thing that I know for a fact that I'm hearing from guys are that sustainability of these issues is imperative to them. They haven't seen this many people of all different ethnicities come together, but they want to make sure that this is sustainable until they get actionable items that are in place to be delivered upon.
Yeah, and that's something that we have seen the league and not just the players, but the league also act in partnership on in the past. So I would imagine that the tone around that, the tenor around that has been markedly different in the NBA historically than it has been in the NFL. I don't see any reason to expect that to be different going forward. Do you?
No, I think, look, and I've had so many conversations on the boardroom with both NFL players and NBA players, and NFL players are now using their platform and speaking up, but they've always felt like they've been suppressed by the shield to a degree. Whereas Adam Silver and NBA have always been a little bit more progressive, allowing players to, and plus, the guys have their faces that are right there in front of you constantly. So, if there is a platform that is conducive to continuing the conversation, it will be the NBA platform, Greeny.